have a cross carried on our backs, a memory that feels like a crown of thorns, pressing, piercing, impossible to ignore. There's a special kind of grief in looking back at yourself and feeling nothing but shame. I always have that moment. It has always felt like a Cinderella fairy tale where I can only live my life on limits. Because when the clock strikes 12, the tables would turn. It feels like a prayer left unheard, a penance that never ends. I would flinch at the choices I made, the words I spoke, the people I trusted. I would love to believe that that version of me never existed. It would be easier to think of that. But the existence of me is the witness of what was. I would love to bury them beneath the layers of growth, distance, and carefully curated self improvement. But the past is not a body I can lay to rest with a final prayer. It is a specter that stays. It lingers. It haunts the quiet moments, creeping into the nights I thought were silent. I keep writing my past in my mind, imagining how things could have been if I had been better in making choices, if I had been wiser or stronger. I convince myself that the right decision would have led to a perfect outcome. But regret is so cruel. It makes me see my past not as something to learn from, but as something shameful. Something I wish I could erase. I don't just feel bad about my mistakes, I turn against the person I used to be, treating my past self not as someone who was learning, but as someone who failed to be saved. But what if we looked at our past selves with more compassion? What if instead of casting them out like a sinner, at the gates we invited them in a seat and listened? The person we were, the ones who wandered down the wrong path, placed faith in wrong hands, spoke when they should have been silent, or stayed silent when they should have spoken. They weren't a mistake. I recently realized that we were just doing our best with what we knew during that time. It is easy to hate the person we used to be when we measure them against who we are now. But without them, we would not be here. They fell so we could rise. Maybe instead of trying to forget them, we should lay them at the altar, just as Christ carried his cross to Calvary, not in vain, but for redemption. Perhaps it is time to let our past selves receive the grace they have carried for so long, knowing the weight was never meant to be carried forever.